So I mentioned in the last video that some of these buildings are in really bad shape. So I wanted to show you exactly what condition some of these properties are in. Let's just take a look at this. Yowzers. Oh, wow. It's like a studio apartment up here. Oh, wow. Woo! That's definitely going to need to be rehabbed. And rehabbing costs money, especially if you're a hands-off investor and you're not gonna be actually doing the physical work yourself. And before we get started, I just wanna say make sure to hit that like button. Also, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button because you're gonna learn a lot from this channel. Okay, so in this video, we're gonna go through the steps and I'm gonna tell you the things that you need to do in order to get financing or the money in order to do a rehab for a rental property. Also, really good news, so we rented our first unit. So I can officially say that I know how to take a vacant building and go through all these different processes in order to get the building in a shape or a condition that it can be rented back out for profit. All right, let's jump in. Step one, get your finances in order. Now, to be fair, not every single step here may apply. I needed $250,000 in order to fully rehab a 12-unit building where each unit is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. Now, I would recommend getting 3 bids from 3 different companies. When you're first starting out, you have absolutely no idea what things cost. And so I had no idea really what the total cost would be. So by putting out these bids, I got really good information back. I mean, I was getting line items of it's gonna cost X amount of dollars to install the refrigerator and put in countertops. The materials usually cost the same as the labor. If it's gonna cost, let's say $1,000 for the flooring, it's probably gonna cost $1,000 in labor to lay the flooring down. Also, side note, make sure that the bid is line itemed, meaning like it's not this like super general, yeah, hey look, we can do it for $75,000. Because not only do you not learn anything, the bank also doesn't really know how to use that information, and they're gonna be a little uncertain if you just say, yeah, no, I got a guy who's gonna do it all for X. Now, once I figured out that I needed roughly $250,000, I didn't have that money in cash. So I obviously needed to get a loan. And one of the best places to get that kind of money is to refinance perhaps something you already own or something that maybe you could own. So if you already own a house, for example, you could refinance that house. A great place to start is the assets that you already have. And that's what I did. I refinanced the building itself in order to pay for its own rehab. Also, if you don't own anything at all and you have no assets, that's all right because you're gonna have to go through these steps anyways. So here's the tricky part. And it really is a tough pill to swallow, but you really need to plan all of this out way in advance, a year in advance. Places that give loans, lending institutions like banks or credit unions, they take a few key considerations and they build like a profile around you. Here's what those key things are. The first one is your credit rating, your credit score, which can be improved over time, but again, that's why you want to do this so far in advance. A second thing is your assets, how much stuff you own. Assets come down to things like your house, stocks, bonds, because if you have all this stuff and they loan you some money and you stop paying on that loan, at least they know that you have all this stuff and money value that you could pay the loan back. It's like you're building trust. And finally, one thing that the bank uses that usually sends people's heads spinning is this thing called the debt to income ratio. Now, I had never heard of this. And what they do is they basically come up with this ratio for how much money you earn versus how much debt you have for how much money they'd be willing to lend you. For example, if you earn $500,000 a year and you don't have any debt at all, the bank is probably really willing to lend you a very high large number for a loan. And that's because they realize that you would have no problem paying the monthly installments for that loan back. However, if you earn $500,000 but you have $450,000 in debt, you're like really only making $50,000 a year. The bank would be very precautious to lend you a large amount of money if that was in fact your debt to income ratio. So here's why debt to income ratios can get really tricky. If you're just a regular employee and you just get a W-2 at the end of the year, then your income is already fixed. So let's just say you don't have a lot of debt. Well, that's pretty simple then. I mean, the bank just goes, here's how much you make, here's how much debt you have. It's maybe hopefully not much. And then they go, this is what we're willing to lend you. If you're an independent contractor or you're an LLC or a DBA, it gets really weird because you basically engineer your taxes at the end of the year in order to show that you make as little profit as possible. And you do that by doing expenditures for your business at the end of the year so that you basically squash your profit so you can move farther into the game of your business. Well, when you're trying to, expand your debt to income ratio, you wouldn't do that. You would actually hold off on some of those expenditures, some of those write-offs, to show that you're actually making more. Well, when you make more, you get taxed more. And so you actually have to pay to play in this scenario. You have to show that you're making more money in order to reverse engineer how much you want to make based off of the debt to income ratio that you have. So I started my whole strategy for this loan about a year in advance. And I re-engineered my debt to income ratio by doing my taxes a certain way with an accountant. I would highly recommend actually working with an accountant on this. Step 2, find a lender. I found, and what actually worked for me, was I went on to biggerpockets.com. It's a forum for real estate investors. You can go into the forums and you can find the local market that you're investing in, and you can just start asking people. I mean, you can literally just make a post, hey, I'm looking for a lender in Columbus, Ohio, and there's a great chance that someone's either gonna give you a recommendation or that someone will literally reach out to you because they may be a broker, and that broker may already know all the lenders that are investor friendly, and they can just hook you up, boom, right there. Okay, now every market has different lenders, and usually it's the local lenders that are gonna be working with real estate investors. There are national lenders, obviously you can Chase Bank, Citibank, or whatever, but it's usually the local lenders that are familiar with the area that give you the best rates and give you the best terms. Also to note, we just went through a pandemic. COVID has made things a little weird in the sense that everyone at that time was really risk averse. Now it seems like things are getting better. For me, it took a little bit longer. I don't think most loans take this long to like structure or whatever, but you can pretty much do the process like from top to bottom in 2 months. Being nervous is natural. As humans, anything that we've never done before, I think we're always nervous. But if you've done your homework and the numbers work out and you know that this building is going to cash flow, it's all gonna work out. It's gonna be fine. Step 2. Wait a minute. Were we just on step 2? Yes, we were. We were just on step 2. That's because step 2 and step 3 literally have to happen at the exact same time. They need to run concurrently. And that is finding a crew, finding the people that are actually going to be doing the rehab. Now, if you're doing the rehab yourself, this also applies. And that is, you need to be able to show the work, show the numbers, show past history to the lending institution so that they feel good about giving you the money in order to do this project. All right, so you have the money, you have the plan in place, you have the rehab crew ready to go, and you still can't believe that you paid that much money in taxes. What's next? We're gonna cover all that in the next video. I'm gonna bring you up to speed on where we're at with this 12-unit building, and I'm also gonna tell you all about the things you need to do while the rehab is actually going through. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, because I'm gonna tell you all that information in the next video, and I'll see you really soon.